Good morning. Good morning. I'm Bill Snowden. I'm your worship associate. My pronouns are he, him. Today's opening words are from the uses of the erotic as power, by the self-described Black lesbian mother, warrior, poet, Audre Lorde. The erotic is not a question only of what we do. It is a question of how accurately and fully we can feel the doing. When we begin to live from within outward, in touch with the power of the erotic within ourselves and allowing that power to inform and illuminate our actions upon the world around us, then we begin to be responsible to ourselves in the deepest sense. Join me as we recite our covenant, and Smoot Carl Mitchell and his lovely wife join us to light the candle. Charlotte. This is called an old age brain fart. Pardon me. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship, thus do we covenant. Thank you, Smoot and Charlotte. UUCP engages with all our senses to create a vibrant faith community. Our weekly newsletter, called The Compass, and our website, phoenixuu.org, shares all the ways you can be in touch with us through the week. UUCP's civic engagement team encourages us all to spread the good word about High School Voter Registration Week, which is an active way to combat youth voter suppression. Consider volunteering or giving financially to be a part of this transformative movement to increase the political participation among our first-time voters. If you would like to learn more about our other ways to get involved in our congregation, please join us after the service in Annex B for a Get to Know You UUCP session. You might see Annex H flash up there at some time, but it's Annex B. As Unitarian Universalists, we extend our willing hands beyond the sanctuary doors as a practice of generosity. Each week through our Share the Plate program, we put our faith in action by splitting our offering to UUCP with a local organization. For August 2023, our Share the Plate partner is Maryland School. The Maryland School's mission for its pre-kindergarten through 8th grade students is achieve success for all, every day in every way. Several congregants in our community have been an active relationship with the Maryland School through offering tutoring and expanding its outdoor education and a gardening program for its students. Many outdoor extracurricular activities, the very ones that teach children how to tune in to the sensory wisdom of their bodies, are severely underfunded in Phoenix school budgets. Today, our offering is an active investment in supporting our education system to offer programs that reconnect students with a sense of wisdom with their bodies. Ushers, would you please come forward? for all that you... So, while we are passing out the plate, we have a wonderful offering from our UUCP youth, Nigel Perez. He will play Pachelbel's Canon.
I don't think there's such a thing as too many children, but there might be such a thing as too many children on your hips at the wrong moment. My apologies. My name is Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. And I want to invite everyone up to the front. Anyone whose body needs a different place to sit, feel free to come sit on the stairs. But really today, let's get into our bodies a bit and feel free to move around and find a new spot. While we get settled, hi, Miss Jan. I will say that I have an invitation for you all. And it's an invitation for a party today at noon. And also a party next Sunday at noon. And also a party the next Sunday at... You got it. So today is going to be a chalice making party in room 9 at noon, after you have a chance to have some snacks. Come meet us, and we have a whole bunch of little plastic chalices and little plastic, I would say fire-safe candles, but we could light anything on fire, couldn't we? Yeah. But we'll all get chances to make chalices, and we really, really like when we go visit your homes and we see our children's ministry chalices at your homes, huh? It's kind of exciting. So please come join us today. Next Sunday will also be a party. It will not be a chalice making party though. So if you want your chalice, today's the day. Let's see if I have anything else before we get into it. I don't think so. But I need to shift gears a little bit because today's story is a story that I'm making up as we go along, and I'm making it up for us because we know that the stories we tell have power, right? And the stories we tell shift who we are. And I'm starting with a bad story. I'm starting with a story that a lot of you know, or know some version of, and I don't like it. I don't think we like it. So give me a second. Okay. Inverted, cross midline, changed my perspective. I'm good. So Tantalus. Tantalus did something very, very bad. Kind of gross, too. You see, he killed his kid. And then, I would say this isn't worse, but the gods thought this part was worse. Then he invited all of the gods to a huge feast and said, here, eat this delicious mijo. Eat my son. Gross, bad, do not do that. That is not a way to live, right? That doesn't live out our values. The gods were angry, though. Are you surprised? Show me your angry God face. Good. Angry God face, good. Elodie does not have an angry face. She's perfect, in case anyone was wondering. The gods were angry, and they punished Tantalus to live in Tartarus, because it was hard to say together, I think. But Tantalus's punishment was about not being fulfilled. So he was destined to live in knee-deep water under a fruit tree, which sounds good, right? You have most of what you need. But when Tantalus's stomach would grow achy and hungry and groan and moan, and he would reach up for a piece of fruit, the tree would grow taller and the fruit would go out of his reach. So everyone take a second, like you're gonna reach for a beautiful nectarine and pluck it, and nope, it's higher. It's higher, higher. You can't. And now from all that reaching, you're very thirsty, so you bend down to scoop water to your mouth. But as you go to scoop it, the water level gets lower. Reach down, it's lower, the water is all gone. So he can never be satisfied. He's always hungry and always thirsty. And from the time we were babies, when we were first born, what did we do when we were hungry and thirsty? And thrashed around, and we were sore, and we were angry, and we were bitter. And you know what? I think that's what made Tantalus's story stick. The bitterness. And that idea of being punished forever and ever and ever to physical suffering, to not being fulfilled. It creates violence. Tantalus is used as a story about spite. Tantalus is used to talk about stretching our souls to the point of breaking. Yes, Nabi. I think retributory violence is probably also not a good idea, right? If you kicked me, I'm not going to kick you back. I have many years of ballet training, and you are much smaller than me. It would be unkind. And violence begets violence, so just stop. Bela, quickly. I'm waiting. Right, and also trying to feed the gods had a lot with feeding their children to other people. We're not gonna, we've ruled that out. That's a no. Okay, so I want to rescue Tantalus. What do y'all think? Let's save Tantalus. Okay, so who could save Tantalus? I thought of Zeus, the sky god, could come in and change everything, right? With a bolt of lightning. Can you show me a bolt of lightning? Yeah, Tantalus is standing in water. That's not gonna work, and Zeus is super, super vengeful and kind of mean. So not Zeus. Then I thought of love, and I thought of Aphrodite, who falls in love with everyone and wants to spare everyone until they tick her off, or someone else calls them pretty. So if anyone ever called Tantalus handsome, Aphrodite's out. Sorry. Okay, what about Hera? Hera has lots of power and some wisdom. Why not Hera? Why isn't she a good fit?
Because most of the gods would still be angry at Tantalus because he's frowned upon.
Yes, and Hera particularly can hold a grudge, right? She's really well known for holding a grudge, so not Hera. Yeah, that's all bad. Oh, yeah, and Tantalus had betrayed family, you're right. Okay, so what about Dionysus? Dionysus is all about eating and drinking, right? Too crazy and too creepy. I would say too wild and a little creepy, right? Imagine Tantalus is suddenly taken by the spirit of Dionysus. So you've been stretching and reaching and stretching and reaching, and now it's eat it all, do whatever you want. You still can't reach those things. So what do you end up doing? Have you ever thrashed around like that for more than 30 seconds? Have you ever thrashed around like that for a full 30 seconds? Let's try it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. I'm tired. 30. Oh. Anyone feeling unbalanced? Anyone feeling tired? A little wild? Okay, maybe Dionysus isn't the right choice, but I feel like we're getting close. Tantalus has a need in his stomach and his throat and his skin. Eros. Eros is this figure that we're told forces people to fall in love with one another. But there's another part of Eros that I think is more important. And or Eros, yes, the flaming touch. The flaming touch, and this idea that Eros could brush against you and you would feel deep, intense love and pleasure and desire and fulfillment. This idea that touching skin to skin from one person to another, may I, can fulfill you. This is amazing. So imagine Eros comes in to the suffering Tantalus, and then what would happen? Where does our story go? Nabi. The question is, where would the story go once Eros swept in? So maybe Tantalus wouldn't be. He'd be happy, he'd be fulfilled.
I mean, not so much that Demeter is the goddess of literally the harvest of the
So maybe Eros could help Demeter come and feed Tantalus. Has anyone here ever been familiar with Eros? Maybe had a run-in in their own lives? Some love, some lust, some deep feel. Okay, we are very much a relationship, sex, positive congregation. So when I ask that question and you all go, yet you want these kids to go to OWL once a week and talk about getting down? Let me ask that question again. Has anyone here ever had any personal experience with Eros? Thank you. Thank you. But knowing when you're struck by that touch, when you feel someone else's electric touch, and it can be platonic, it could be a friendship, someone who holds your hand and makes you feel better and delighted and happy. But it could also be a lover. It could also be yourself. So maybe part of what Eros brings Tantalus is the ability to stop reaching and the ability to just touch for a second. Touch your face. Touch your neck. The rough spot on your elbow. Unless you're super moisturized, in which, good job. The side of your thigh. Feel your toes touching against each other. Find a favorite spot for your hand to land. Let yourself be calmed. Let yourself be fulfilled. Good. Yeah. There. Thank you. Can you imagine suffering for your entire life because you couldn't get the thing you were reaching for, and then to realize that you had tools to comfort yourself? And taking that step to comfort yourself and soothe yourself so that you could call out to Demeter and say, hey, lady, it's been millions of years, I'm real hungry. What can we do about this? Oh, maybe. But maybe in our story, because stories have power and we can change stories, Eros swoops in to rescue Tantalus and says, Tantalus, find peace for a moment so that your brain can settle and be creative, and then together let's think of some ideas. And together they figure out how to ask the gods to let them out of this suffering, how to find joy in this water and this fruit, and how to be comfortable and safe and celebrating and love with familiar touch. And then we get to write the next part. With that, I'm going to do another invitation. Well, first, I want to say, may you all, when you're feeling like Tantalus, remember that you have hands. With that, I'd like to invite everyone to stand up or get into a comfortable position and feel yourself ready to follow directions to music about movement. What do we call that? Dance. We're going to dance. This is going to be a little bit like the Madison because we're going to get to hear our instructions for what we need to do. The hokey pokey for those of you who don't know the Madison. But we're going to step this way so that we can all see Mr. Dave, and Mr. Dave has a new song for us. Thank you.
We've been talking all day long, now let's dance. I think we know right from wrong, now let's dance. Move our hips from side to side, wave hello but not goodbye. Hold our arms up to the sky, now let's dance. I said thank you, I said please, now let's dance. I would like to bend my knees, now let's dance. Twirl and whirl and rock around, jump it up and bend it down, wobble like a circus clown, now let's dance. I can hear the drummers drumming, now let's dance. Time we should be starting something, now let's dance. Sax and trumpet have been blowing, now the rooster won't stop crowing. Party's where we should be going, now let's dance. Dance around a little. The neighborhood is finally hopping, now let's dance. Once we start, we won't be stopping, now let's dance. Like a bird or like a bear, like a cloud up in the air, people dancing everywhere, now let's dance. I knew that there would come a time, now let's dance. I would find that friend of mine, now let's dance. In Marrakesh or Veracruz, in London or down in Peru, I know just what we're gonna do, now let's dance. In Phoenix Town or Tucson too, in Glendale or Havasu, I know just what we're gonna do, now let's dance. In Flagstaff, in Kayenta, in Prescott or in Syracuse, I know just what we're gonna do, now let's dance. Now let's dance. Now let's Good job.
Oh, that was so very fun. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Dave and Carolyn. So much joy in our very bodies. And now we're going to make some sacred space for the joys and sorrows of our community. For those of you watching on Zoom, please enter any joys or sorrows you may have into the chat, being sure to put your name at the beginning. And for those in person, joys and sorrow cards are always located at the front table for next week if there is something that you want to share. As we take time to support one another in this dance of life, let us center ourselves with a brief moment of stillness. I have a joy this morning from Michelle Morgan and Sam Kirkland. They shared that they are happy to have their younger daughter Sharon visit for a few weeks. Shannon, welcome Shannon. A joy to see you this morning, thank you. The Johansons online share a joy in a new job, very exciting. And also a sorrow as well of losing a job. Both those things are true at the same time. From Katie Resendez, we have a joy of gratitude that the children's ministry team and the kids of UUCP are sending Chandani off to a freshman year of college at the U of A. As a member of our congregational staff, she has comforted, created, cleaned, cared, and did so much more, an embodiment of the love we want to see in our world. Please join us in wishing her our very best. From Krista with our UUs of the Valley in Salt Lake, a joy that antibiotics are working and recovering from pneumonia. Yes, joy of good health. From Connie Jamarked online, a joy to Charlotte and Smoot for bringing friends together who haven't seen one another in a very long time. Yes, blessings of friendship indeed. Please join me in a brief prayer. Spirit of life and in love, we gather today in holy gratitude. Gratitude for antibiotics, for daughters visiting, for friendships coming together, for graduations and new beginnings, be them jobs, be them new experiences. We gather together in gratitude. And we also gather together in joyful celebration to move our bodies, to try new things, to be together in community. All of what we share is sacred, and when we share the joys and sorrows of our lives, may we be filled with loving compassion. Let us take this moment to send our love to each other and in person. Amen. Okay. Eroticism. Eroticism is an embrace of all activities that can bring us into an embodied, sensuous experience of feeling alive. And as a form of power, the erotic means discovering what is good in our bodies and honoring its life-affirming sensuality that has a gift to help us discern what is ethical and socially just in our lives. For me, one of the ways that I can tap into my erotic power is when I am called to transform myself from a consumer of food to a lover of food. Lovers of food respond to the erotic call to passionately respond to issues of food insecurity and inequality. So today, we are going to slow down, to activate and awaken our senses, and experience the pleasure of enjoying food together. This sensory experience we will embark with one another is going to help us become enlivened, to notice how nature is taking care of us so that we can care for one another too. So let us take a mindful bite with a food meditation. For those of you in the sanctuary or watching online, now is the time to gather your nibble of food. Let us begin by taking a few deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Feel your feet on the ground. Soften into the now, letting go of any tension. And as you consciously open whatever container your food is stored in, take out that small morsel and place it into the palm of your hand. Hold the food there. Feel it between your fingers and your thumb. And gaze upon it as if you have never seen anything like it before. Notice its weight. Pay attention to its size, its shape, its color and texture. Notice its ridges, wrinkles, or smoothness. As you gaze upon this morsel, think about how this food started and how it came to be. What were the elements of this good earth that created this nibble of energy? And now turn the bit of food between your fingers and get curious about what it really feels like. Is it spongy, dry? What happens when you squeeze it? Some of you may even want to close your eyes to really focus on how it feels in your hand. And in this holy moment, bring to mind all of the laboring hands that brought this food to you now. Imagine all the people who tended to this food so you could enjoy its nourishment. And now slowly lift the food to right beneath your nose and take an inhale. With each inhale, drink in the smell, the aroma, the fragrance into your awareness. Notice how faint or strong it is and locate that tingle in your nose. Be with this scent. Be with it and notice any memories it might be surfacing for you. Perhaps there is a memory, something that connects you to a family recipe or a loved one in some way. For this food here and now connects you not only to the present, but also to the past. And now it's time to finally, if you haven't already, place the food in your mouth. Notice the way your tongue moves to receive its nutritious gift. Play around with the food with your tongue. Notice its flavor if it has one. Feel it behind your lips and on the roof of your mouth. Slowly and consciously start to take that first mindful erotic bite. Notice the tastes that are released. And bring attention to your ears, listening to the sound of your teeth and your jaw as you chew. And as you begin to swallow this morsel of food, see if you can follow its pleasurable sensation, lovingly moving down through your throat to your stomach. And now I invite you to place one hand on your stomach or on your heart as we share a brief moment of reflection. Mindful eating can help us look into the belly of our food system. Through the power of the erotic, when we experience the food we have access to, that we get to enjoy as being pleasurable and nourishing, we can more fully come to appreciate how we are called to nourish the world. Take a moment. Notice how you feel. Notice how this experience of a mindful erotic bite calls you into deeper relationship with yourself and with the wider world. Perhaps this mindful bite is inviting you to champion food education. Maybe it's luring you to expand food access in your community. Perhaps it is summoning you to defend food workers' rights or fight climate change by preventing food waste. Whatever desire is arising from deep in your heart, may you trust the erotic as a powerful life force energy. For when the power of the erotic helps us discover just how good it feels to be alive, we are called to nourish more potent, more pleasurable gifts of createdness for us all. And now I invite Dave.
Where a lot of this food comes from, Carol and I are going to do. I think that the chorus is going to be up on the screen, so I invite you to sing along.
I put an initial up there to indicate which verse he's doing, and then I started reading it as the key, which is not it. Okay.
Good.
Maybe not to the last one.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Need a place to call my own, 'cause the time is close at hand.
Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain to the music of the land.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling down. Plant your rose straight and long, seasoned with a prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care.
Oh, crow watching from a tree, he's got his hungry eye on me. In my garden I'm as free as a feathered thief up there.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling down. Now, in case you think that this gardening business is all sweetness and light, here's a couple of verses to bring it back down. Slug by slug, weed by weed, boy, this garden's got me teed. All the insects come to feed on my tomato plants.
Sunburnt face, skinned up knees, kitchens choked with zucchinis. I'm shopping at the A&P the next time I have the chance.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling down.
So I wrote a reflection on what makes me feel alive. So in preparing for this reflection, I realized my good fortune to have been raised in an environment that allowed me to develop a trust in my body while hiking, surfing, dancing, or singing. As a child, I didn't lack for the basic needs. I always had enough food, shelter, parents who cared about me, and a neighborhood that was free from violence. As a Boy Scout, I learned to enjoy the majesty of the mountains, trusting that I could safely enjoy the sounds, smells, and beauty of the forest in northern New Mexico. Being outside, whether in the mountains or the desert, especially over a period of days, gave me a deep feeling of connection to nature. I was on a swim team from age 10 through high school, which allowed me the confidence and muscle strength to enjoy the ocean. It's hard to describe the feeling sliding down a wave, my body positioned kind of where a surfboard is, watching the shape of the curl and diamond head. That was the first time I really saw God. As a youngster, I listened to oversized speakers booming out in my father's extensive classical record collection. What joy I felt pretending I was a dancer as the music coursed through my body. Then in high school, I enrolled in a cotillion class where I learned to ballroom dance. Much later, in my 30s, I spent many evenings after work at a ballroom dance studio, practicing my part on the dance floor, feeling some of that joy I had as a boy, dancing to the classical music in the living room. In preparation for the marriage ceremony with my beautiful wife, Joan Gale, we enrolled in a dance school so we could do a credible waltz. We continued lessons after that for several years, experiencing that feeling of being alive in the arms of another. There was also a piano in my childhood living room that my mother and sister played as I sang along. I learned guitar, sang folk songs, and participated in the choir in high school and a little bit of college. On coming to UUCP, I joined the choir and really found a home. It's fun and challenging to perform music for the congregation, but when my thoughts don't get in the way and our voices harmonize just so, I am overcome with emotion. I no longer spend my days in the forest, body surf in the ocean, or go out dancing, but singing in the choir still affirms my connection with the world around me and gives me that liberating sense of aliveness. My wish for you is that you find a way to experience a connection with the world that allows you to feel alive.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bill. So when I was a little girl, one of my hobbies was learning how to Irish step dance. Yeah, I enjoyed the music and the way it made me feel connected to my maternal family line. And as a little one, I loved having rules to follow. So I really appreciated its very prescriptive instructions on how to do the very intricate footwork. So for those of you who maybe have never seen it, Irish step dancing involves a stiff upper body. Your back is kept straight, your arms are glued to the side, and your hands both make a fist, so that all of the focus is on its fancy footwork. But I have a confession to make. Outside that dance studio, surrounded by no one, all alone in my room, I'd practice. And most of the time, after a few rounds of my Irish jig, my arms and hands would start to do this. They would raise up. It turns out I always wanted to add some hand clapping to my foot stomping, but I didn't dare let myself show that to the outside world. Deep inside, there has always been this erotic guide, a deep embodied desire for that soul-satisfying pleasure. So how is it that I became so mistrustful of my body's own sense wisdom and so afraid of the power of the erotic within me? I recently learned that one of the hypotheses of why Irish step dancing came to be a fixed art form with your arms is because the Catholic Church, which had a strong influence on Irish culture, disapproved of any provocative movement. The restricted posture of the arms made sure that it was one way the church could exert control to prevent anyone from touching and maintaining, quote, modesty. The thing is, no one actually ever had to explicitly teach me that. No one came along and said, little Brigitta, you cannot trust the movement of the erotic guide within. It was just the culture and society I found myself in. So here I am, in search to rehabilitate the sense wisdom of my body, which brought me to the prophetic voice of American writer and womanist Audre Lorde, and she woke me to my senses. In her 1984 essay, Uses of the Erotic as Power, Audre Lorde celebrates the erotic in all of our endeavors as a way to pursue genuine liberatory transformation in our world. For Audre Lorde, eroticism is defined as our body's capacity to feel fully alive and live deeply in our sensory experience. The erotic can be the nurturer of deep spiritual knowledge, and it lives deep inside each of us as this renewable resource, as a source of sensuous experience, the ones that make us feel fully alive. The word erotic comes from the Greek word eros, which is the personification of love in all of its aspects. And while the Greeks had many words for all different kinds of love, in Greek mythology it was Eros, the god of passionate love. But today we live in a patriarchal, racist, ableist, sexist, and heterosexist, homophobic, capitalist society. It's one that has purposefully tried to disconnect us from our passionate love. Our fleshy body selves have become trained to be dulled to our sense wisdom. This is because in order to maintain the oppressive, unjust systems that violently disrespect our body selves and the planetary body of our earth, we have to be socialized, to become disembodied, to numb and dull our feelings. Many of the embedded theologies that scaffold this oppressive status quo we find ourselves in distorts eroticism as being shame-ridden and even sinful. Societally, we have inherited this life-limiting and death-dealing theology that erotic sensibilities are to be mistrusted and minimized as a lustful form of sexual arousal, one that requires, quote, taming. To live in an anti-erotic society means that we must believe in this big lie, that what is pleasurable for our bodies is somehow wrong. So this got me wondering about our Unitarian Universalist theological charge to center love. For if we are to take this call seriously, to weave love through everything we do, then what role can the erotic play in our faith lives? What would it sound like, feel like, taste like, smell like, look like, to trust Eros, to trust our desire of passionate love, to trust the creative life force of the erotic guide within? The erotic guide leads us through our very first interactions in this world, because it is our very senses that provide the relational grounding for how we move through the world. As infants, we learn about ourselves through touch and through taste. It is our very fleshy, sensuous, highly erotic bodies that are our very sites of revelation. Sites of revelation that affirm all bodies are pleasurable, all bodies are potent gifts of creative energy. Gifts that, when used with integrity, can drive us towards moral action. If only we remember how to resist the dulling of our senses. Our Unitarian Universalist theology is covenantal, and it centers love. Erotic attunement humbly reminds me that we can't think our way into becoming a liberatory faith. We cannot logically, ideologically, or objectively assert collective liberation into being. Instead, beloveds, we must live it. And we can live our way into collective liberation by erotically feeling our way into existence, by waking our senses to feeling fully alive with erotic justice. So how do we reclaim this erotic intelligence, the very ones we need to awaken our senses for collective liberation? I suspect it starts with trusting desire, trusting the sensuousness, trusting the desires of our body. For when we start to trust desire, trusting what feels pleasurable in our skin, we begin to open ourselves up to the power of the erotic that can move us out of hyper-individualism towards mutuality. Eroticism that can remind us that we are radically and sensuously interconnected in interdependence. So lately, I've been experimenting with the ways that eroticism can be a spiritual resource and liberating ethic as a Unitarian Universalist. My search to engage in my senses, to reconnect to that deep inner wisdom, to get that sense of generating full aliveness for justice, led me back to dance class. But this time, it was a new kind, a class for ecstatic dance. And ecstatic dance is the complete opposite of Irish step dancing, because its entire purpose is that it's free form, that there's a space for dancers to trust the rhythm and beats of their bodies and follow where it takes you. Ecstatic dance, for me, was one of the invitations to trust the wisdom of my body as a liberating force for self-expression. But I have another confession to make. Inside that dance studio, surrounded by others in its very large room, I found my body doing an Irish jig. There was just something about that fast-paced tempo that transported me back in time, back to the times when I was alone in my room, back to the time when I knew what it felt like to feel genuine in my body, which turns out has a unique style all its own. A style that sort of looks like this mashup between Irish step dancing mixed with some cha-cha. But don't worry, there was tons of foot stomping and also hand clapping and, of course, lots of hip swaying. It turns out that trusting the desire of my body, letting the erotic guide within lead the way towards right relationship with myself and the world, it needed community. A community that we can deliberately co-create for collective liberation, a community like the ones we are in today. My hope and prayer is that in our collective call to center love, that we trust our deepest desires ecstatically and in community. Because in this shared dance of waking our senses to become more alive, we can honor the erotic God guide within, the bringer of pleasure and justice. May it be ecstatically and erotically be so.
All right, this one we didn't rehearse, so the power of magic of we shall do it anyways, right? Okay? Yeah, so our Igor is here today, so do you have your bass in the car? Yes, he had his bass in the car. Ask an ukulele player, do you have your ukulele with you? Yes, I do. Chris, do you have yours? You've got to do that. Do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You've got to, and then we're putting in the words that our beloved minister gave me this morning that I don't know where I put them now. There we go. Yep. Well, we're going to go through. Spirit says do. Spirit says dance. Spirit says Spirit says sing, and Spirit says love. Maybe they'll come in that order, maybe not. We'll see. And feel free to get up and dance like John Reed is. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to love when the Spirit says love. You got to love when the Spirit says love. When the Spirit says love, you got to love, oh Lord. You got to sing when the Spirit says love. 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 You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do.
Let us continue engaging our senses with coffee and community. If you're interested in learning more about UUCP, you can meet me in Annex B at noon. Adult and children's activities will begin shortly soon. Closing words are brief and mine. Let us go forth trusting desire, trusting our bodies as revelatory sites of spiritual experience. Bodies that wake to all of our senses, to learn how to live as things ought to be. May we each honor the erotic guide within. Go in peace, go in love.